Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, and we're hoping not to be cap casualties. It's me, your man, MG Marcas, joined by LaQuan Jones. Michael F. Florio is off in the great unknown somewhere. Hopefully he returns by Thursday. But otherwise...
Yeah, for sure. I
mean,
unless he's a cap casualty in the next couple of days, man. Why are we starting to pot off with that type of energy, man?
I'm sorry. Should I have said we hope to get franchise tagged?
Yes.
Is that better?
I'd rather that because today's the day they get tagged.
Job, but then it is a system that is artificially limiting what your compensation can be because owners apparently can't be trusted to negotiate good deals amongst themselves.
The lore of this is insane, but proceed.
What? That is where the franchise tag came from. Because they just were afraid of not being able to rein in their own spending or were afraid of athletes getting the bag too much. So now we got to artificially limit not only your movement from one team to another, but how much you can get paid through like an arbitrary system of advanced math. That's what the franchise tag is.
It's not a small number of money, though. It's a pretty big bag.
It's a big bag compared to what you and I make, yes. But compared to what some of these guys potentially could be making on the open market, yes, it is a fraction of what they could be getting. Because again, the whole point of free agency and the draft is to sort of artificially limit the compensation of the athletes because the owners, need another boat. Anyway, this past weekend, not only was it President's Day weekend, but Valentine's Day was over the weekend. I hope you and the missus had a good Valentine's Day.
You too, man. Yeah. We kind of just kicked it and chilled. We didn't do much.
Same.
Our 17-year anniversary is in 10 days, so less than 10 days now. So, yeah. So it's kind of like Valentine's Day is just another day because it's like we had the big one the following weeks.
Yeah. Did you guys plan it that way? Like to get married right around Valentine's Day?
No, it's one of those things that just kind of just happened. Like,
just happened.
This worked out.
No, I get it. That's fine. That's cool. Well, congratulations in advance on you guys have been married longer than I've worked at this job, and I've worked at this job a long time.
I've known her all my life, it feels like, and boy, 17 years, 16 Valentine's Day. That's a lot.
Well, that is awesome, though. So congratulations for real. But along those lines, we're going to talk about players that we loved, that we might love again. Basically, it's a whole bunch of guys and how we feel about them when it comes to fantasy in 2026 and beyond. So we got players that we lost love for this past year, players who hurt us, but we still have love for them, and then some of our crushes for the upcoming season. But first... we do have some news, a few headlines that popped up over the last few days since we last spoke with you. Maybe the biggest one, although not really a surprise to me, LaQuan. I don't think it's a surprise really to anybody. The Dolphins are releasing Tyreek Hill, the 5-time All-Pro who suffered a major leg injury this past season. I guess the first thing is, do you have any expectations that we see Tyreek Hill playing professional football next year?
I mean, like, when we got this news, like, I don't know about you, Marcus. I was making breakfast. Like, I'm scrambling the eggs. I look over at my phone. I get the notification. I'm like, I should put a little bit more salt. On this, the wife ain't around. But I'm just looking at it like, I don't think this guy is actually going to be playing meaningful football this season. Because, like, this injury, a dislocated knee, a torn Achilles, MCL, like, this was a nasty injury for somebody who's 32 years old. And, like, I can't picture a team going out there getting him while he's in recovery. Like, even his agent is saying, like, they're eyeing for week 1. On what team, bro?
Of what season? Like,
exactly. Like, of what season?
Year?
Because when we see this injury and then we look at what Tank Dell has went through, and this is a younger player, like a smaller in stature and size, but similar injuries where, like, this is serious. Like, I don't think we see Cheetah. Like, we might see a smaller cat, that is less faster. Like, I can't even think of a cat that's probably, of the sub speed of it, but I just don't know if he plays football in 2026. I think we're eyeing more of a 27, maybe a return to Kansas City. I mean, maybe he goes to, the retirement homes of teams. Like,
Tennessee.
Who knows? Tennessee, Ravens, who knows? I just feel like, when we got the news, like the fantasy, streets started buzzing and talking, and like even some of my Rams folks out there, the homies out there saying, hey, why not LA? And I'm like, hey, How about no? We don't want that. Don't waste the time. Don't waste the money. But it's just one of those things that, Marcus, I honestly don't see him playing football this year.
I don't either. And I think there's a real conversation to be had, not at this moment, but down the road about what Tyreek Hill's future is in the NFL. Like, I think when he's healthy and ready to go, somebody's going to sign him and give him an opportunity. But this is a guy whose game was primarily built on speed. And to have that kind of a severe leg injury, and again, you mentioned he is on the other side of 30 at this point. It's hard to imagine he gets back to being the field stretcher, the lid lifter on a defense that he was in his prime. And if that's the case, what can we make of Tyreek Hill? Again, I think that's well down the road once we sort of see the progress of his recovery. But we're talking about taking away the major component of his game, and that is naturally going to impact one, which teams are interested in him, and then two, from a fantasy perspective, what our expectations are going to be of him.
That's the entire utility belt. Speed. That's it. This is Batman without the utility belt. This is just a rich guy in a costume at this point.
Tyreek Hill's not exactly going up and mossing dudes, right? He's not high pointing footballs and going up over DBs to make catches. So he's going to have to adjust his game in some kind of way, and I think that's a conversation.
We get to see Tank Dell this season. We get to see where he's at. If he's able to return back to form, like, we can kind of measure it off of that, being that both of these injuries are very similar and very nasty. So I know Tyreek Hill is one of the freak athletes of the histories of football, but hey, this is 32. This is an injury that involves his leg, which took away probably his superpowers.
Yeah. Again, we're ways away from seeing it. I think for a lot of people, best case scenario is that he comes back for the late part of this season, but it almost doesn't make sense. It's almost like just take the year off, get healthy, and then see what happens in 2027. The other part of this, though, is there are a lot of changes going on in Miami. They're pretty much just clearing salary. Bradley Chubb, one of the guys who was also let go by the Dolphins. As of now, we don't have any definitive word on what happens with Tua Tagovailoa, but the expectation is he's not going to be a Dolphin anymore. It's just a question of whether they trade him or if they just outright release him, which obviously creates a huge salary cap issue if that were to happen. But with things are the way they are now, how much of a bump are you giving Jaylen Waddle? Is he, is he in wide receiver 2 still? There's so much that's up in the air there.
I hate to talk down on Waddle, but it all depends who's throwing him the ball. Because I don't think he elevates a young quarterback. I don't think he elevates, a veteran like a Kirk Cousins. Like, I think we're going to have to see where they go with the quarterback position. Because if Tua's not the guy, that's the best that we've seen Waddle, in fantasy aspects as a high-end wide receiver too. Like, we're drafting him amongst the T. Higgins, we're comparing him to that type of tier as a wide receiver in terms of the impact. Like, the talent is there, but this seems like a team that's going to take this year to kind of figure things out. Like, with them cleaning house, making more cap, they could bring in another wide receiver. There's a couple folks out there that are free agents that can come in and compete for these targets. We don't even know what the identity of this offense is going to look like. So I feel like when we start looking at some of these Dolphins players you want to take off the board, is Darren Waller coming back? That's also a key piece to that offense because he was very fantasy relevant. Then you look at Devon Achane. We know he's going to go very early in rounds. But then Waddle, you're just kind of sitting there like, this is the not sexy pick this year that I feel like I'm okay like kind of skipping over once, we start getting more information, then obviously that can change.
He definitely falls on the list of I'm going to let him be someone else's problem. That's kind of, and it's one of those things where, hey man, maybe it works out. Maybe they figure something out. Coaching staff, quarterback, it all comes together, and Jaylen Waddle ends up having a really good year. I'll take the L. I'll sit this one out. I'll let somebody else sort of deal with it, and I'll see what happens because it just. I have
an L's list. of that. I'm okay. I'm okay if they go off. If they don't, they're not my problem.
That should be a segment we do sometime in the offseason. Like, guys you're willing to take the L on. Yeah, guys you're willing to take the L on. I like it for sure. I should actually write that down before I forget because I'll forget by the time the show's over.
We're recording. We got it.
It's on wax. We got this whole thing.
Facts.
Staying in Florida, the Jaguars have kind of been hinting at this for a while, but now the story is sort of making the rounds. They say they plan to continue to use Travis Hunter as a two-way player, but they are not ruling out a full-time flip to cornerback. Again, this sort of started right around the time he got hurt midway through the season, and a little bit sad because I don't think we'll ever get to see fully what the plan was for Travis Hunter. It seemed like he was just about to take off when the injury happened. Now we may never see it in full. I know you have said just flat out, you want no parts of it at all.
He was on the L's list.
So even last pick of the draft, he's just sitting there. You wouldn't throw the dart?
It all depends. I got to be honest. It all depends. Because when you hear part-time in fantasy, it's no. I don't want that. I want you every week. These roster spots are valuable. These guys that you're drafting and taking off the board and putting on your bench, eventually they're going to have to come off the bench and be starters. So me even dipping my foot in that pool to say, hey, I'm going to take a part-time wide receiver and put him on my bench and possibly play him as a flex or whatever the case may be in your format. No. Why would I do that? Because that week I need a win. I don't need some points. I need all the points. If he's going to play wide receiver this week, it needs to be at least 60% of the snaps, Mark. It's we're going to be looking at a part-time wide receiver, full-time corner. Come on, man. This is an obvious, you got to red flag this and say no.
Yeah, my feeling is when they talk about him being a full-time corner and potentially a part-time wide receiver, it's that he plays wide receiver every week, but it's 8 to 10 snaps. Right? That they have a very distinct package for him where it's, a handful of plays that they run situationally. And maybe you get lucky and on a week he pops one and he goes to the house. But more often than not, it feels like it could be one of those he got 3 targets and had 2 catches for 17 yards.
On 6 routes. Bro, what are we doing? I don't need that.
He got an end around that he took for 13 yards, sort of thing.
Best ball. Best ball, I'm willing to draft, obviously. That's the type of place we need to start putting some of these players. You live in best ball. This is redraft. Dynasty, folks, big yikes. We haven't talked about Dynasty. Those managers are in pain right now because honestly, some people took him at the 101. And it's now you got a part-time wide receiver in a format that you can't even start him because you're not an IDP. Yikes.
That is kind of wild. Yeah, I guess if you're playing the IDP circuit, then you're feeling a little bit better. You at least can salvage something out of it. You get something out of it.
I can hear them now. They're roaring. Yeah,
man. Shout out to our boy Gary Davenport. Yeah, you got something out of that if that's what you do. Up to Washington, Jayden Daniels. Obviously, it was a frustrating season for him. Injuries played a large part. There was turnover with the coaching staff there. Cliff Kingsbury, no longer the offensive coordinator. David Blough is now the OC. And there's talk that Jayden Daniels might play more under center this year with David Blough calling the plays, or at least coordinating the offense there. I went back and looked, and obviously a lot of his time in Washington the first 2 years was primarily out of the shotgun because that's just how Cliff Kingsbury rolls. But also it's because they wanted to make him comfortable after his college career where he spent a lot of time in the shotgun at LSU. Is this overblown? Am I making too much of this move to under center, or is this something we got to pay attention to just because there may be a learning curve for him?
There may be a learning curve because I think with the experience that David Blough has as an offensive coordinator is at 0. So this is going to be a project that we're going to have to kind of watch him not exactly learn on the job as the weeks go on, but essentially we have to figure out what the identity of this offense is going to be because is Debo coming back? Is Terry healthy? Is he ready to go? I feel this offense last year fell apart due to injuries. How is that going to, be one of the obstacles that they could overleap this season? Because again, him playing under center, him in shotgun, I think Jayden Daniels plays the quarterback position at the top level. So I think he's going to be able to adapt, execute, and be able to do the things that, we love to see Jayden Daniels do, especially in his rookie year. It's just that this past season was just an up and down roller coaster that we kind of have this bad taste in our mouth about Jayden Daniels going into this next season, just based on what we've seen in the injuries and stuff like that. So I think this is more so a story of today. And then we'll figure out, tomorrow if it's going to be anything notable to keep following.
this feels like one of those things where in February, we either decide, oh no, this is something to pay attention to, or I'm not really worried about it. And then it's something we revisit once training camp happens, right? Because there's going to be some report, some social media post about how he's adjusting to life under center, whether or not he's able to, how his dropbacks look, if he's able to find receivers quickly, if he's more or less likely to run. Like, we're going to start getting all those reports. And, we tend to, of course, be level-headed and never over-evaluate, never freak out one way or another too much about these sorts of things. So we'll be totally chill about whatever gets posted in
We're lying.
July and August.
Lies.
I'm 100% lying because it's not. We're gonna get one video of him like stumbling on a drop back, and everybody's gonna be like, downgrade Jayden Daniels. Like, that's what's gonna happen. Like,
or the opposite. It's going to be a slow-mo video, shorts and T-shirt to Luke McCaffrey, and oh my God, he is back. Like,
he's QB1. There we go.
Yeah, that's just how it flows.
Because, we're just sensible people like that. So, I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we talk about the story with Jayden Daniels for sure in the
Absolutely
offseason.
not.
So calling this show The Love Movement, which to me is an underrated Tribe Called Quest album from the late 90s.
Hey, look at you plugging that.
You like that? You like that?
I might listen after the pod.
You should, absolutely. Find a Way is obviously the highlight of the album, but a lot of good stuff there. Also, I believe that's the last one where Phife Dawg was still with us. So
okay, that matches the energy I've been on. I mean, I've been in my MF Doom bag these last couple of days.
All right, nothing wrong with Daniel Dumley in the morning. Absolutely, nothing wrong. Anyway, we got 3 different categories. We've got the players that we lost love for this past year, the players who hurt us, but that we still love, and our crushes for 2026. So we're going to start with an Earth, Wind, and Fire classic, After the Love Is Gone. The guys that, we had expectations for, we had hopes for coming into the season, and it just didn't work out. And now we've just decided it's time to say goodbye. So who is the guy who hurt you a little bit too much that you just can't go on with from 2025, I should say?
Not only did this guy hurt me, it was just like you were hurting other people I love. And it's Michael Penix, because all summer this was going to be a movie. Like, this Falcons offense was going to be the best in the NFL. It was going to feed the fantasy streets all these fantasy points, but the Penix movie, kind of mid. Like, it wasn't great. I mean, honestly, like, when you see week after week, like, he's leaving some of these games with 0 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, you're affecting my relationship with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, because these are touchdowns that are not being scored. Dude has 9 passing touchdowns in 9 games, MG. Like that, you cannot come back to my roster. You cannot come back to my house. You are done. You are over. We are broken up. This is ATL, T.I. snatching the chain off of Lauren London. Like, it's a dub. Like, I will never draft him again because I took him everywhere in Superflex leagues as my QB2. And even some leagues I tried to get cute where I'm like, I'm going to wait last minute for a QB. Dak is gone. Herbert's gone. I'm talking like CJ Stroud or Michael Penix, and I went Penix, and end up, both of those are bad, but still, 12 fantasy points per game. Penix, it's a dub.
I think with Michael Penix, we've seen the ceiling. Maybe there's a little bit more room to grow, but I don't
ceiling
think
in 4 games. I think it was 4 games that we saw the ceiling, and that's when he took over the back end of the season for Kirk Cousins in his rookie year.
Yeah, I don't know that there's much more room for Michael Penix to grow. And I just think the accumulation of injuries has really taken its toll. Look, Kevin Stefanski going down there, obviously we saw what he was able to do in Cleveland with less than ideal quarterback situations. He was able to kind of make it work, right? I know he said this tongue in cheek. I mean, he got Shedeur Sanders to the Pro Bowl, right? But the point is, Kevin Stefanski has figured out how to build a system to put quarterbacks in a position to succeed. But there's also only so much that I think he can do with some of these guys. And I think for Michael Penix, a guy who is not the most athletic guy, he's not going to get out of the pocket and make a lot of plays with his legs. And to your point, he just there's nothing about
Sam
him.
Bradford knees.
There's nothing about him as a pocket passer that has wowed us so far. And throw in the fact that he may not have Kyle Pitts. Sure, he'll have Drake London and he'll have Bijan Robinson, but this just feels like an offense that really tries to highlight Robinson and use that as a way to sort of hide the quarterback a little bit. I just don't get it. I think the expectations for Michael Penix have come way down, and now it's just, hey man, we just need you to kind of drive the boat. Even that, is he ready for week 1? That's the other question. Is he
That's
be ready
the biggest one.
So yeah, I get you on Michael Penix for sure. Mine is DJ Moore, and I actually came into the season, I was big on Rome Odunze, but I still thought there was room for DJ Moore to be productive. And the first half of the season was miserable. I mean, I'm looking weeks 1 through 7? Only one game with more than 50 receiving yards. The one touchdown, they were moving him to the backfield. They were doing whatever they could to try and I guess scheme him open. And even then, he was not getting looks. It was a lot of Rome Odunze in the first few weeks of the season. Back half of the season, we started to see a little bit more production, but even that was incredibly touchdown dependent. He had a couple of games in the back half of the season where he had 2 touchdowns apiece. Still never had a 100-yard game. It's close as he had 97 in week 16. But beyond that, it was rare that he got you more than 70 receiving yards in a game. The target share was not particularly great. And it's just, I think the lasting memory we will have of him was that route against the Rams where it looked like, on replay that he just sort of gave up on it. And then the Rams end up getting an interception. They come down, they end up winning the game.
I will say he didn't expect it. True. I don't think he gave up on it. He kind of just the game's over. Oh, yeah, that's me. That's where I'm supposed to be. Yeah, but if you look at the route, I think, don't get me wrong, it might have been Loveland or Odunze. I forget it, but it did look like the ball was heading in their direction. It just sailed over them where DJ Moore is supposed to make the play, which he definitely would have got. He definitely would have put the nail in the coffin.
Maybe. It doesn't help that he just, was it last year, 2 years ago when he was, pouting on the sideline. So that play doesn't help you beat the allegations, Yeah. And so who knows what happens with DJ Moore? I've seen his name show up in all kind of trade rumors, people suggesting the Bears are going to move on from DJ Moore. And first off, a lot of the proposed landing spots don't necessarily excite me. I've seen the Raiders, I've seen the Steelers.
Just stay in Chicago and figure it out. I hate moving him though. I hate moving him because you're taking an actual weapon from Caleb. I understand Luther Burden. I understand Loveland. These are still young guys developing, but DJ Moore can still play good football, man. We've seen flashes. I just think emotionally he may be checked out, but I don't get it. You're paid, bro. You're the wide receiver 1.
He's on my list of L's. He's one of them for me for next year, right?
He can go on the list of L's, I'm
not going to do it. If somebody else wants to take that shot, then Godspeed. 50 catches for less than 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. 5 of those 6 touchdowns coming within a compacted space within about 5 or 6 games. I was like, touchdowns are fickle beasts. And if that was the thing that was even kind of keeping him afloat, I'm just not banking on it again next year. Yeah. So even though I took him in the later rounds, I don't think I spent a ton in draft capital just because I think everybody was on Rome Odunze. Me, I was.
Yeah.
But even still, the returns are just not worth the headache. It was that he's not giving me enough. He's that netherworld of he's not giving me enough to put in my lineup every week, but he's not bad enough that I'm just cutting him and putting him on the waiver line.
Exactly. Because I painted this picture, at least going to the season, that he was going to have that Jameson Williams role, right? Mm-hmm. Where he's going to have the explosive routes, the end of rounds. And we kind of did see some of that. We saw him lined up in the backfield, which was cute. He ain't Debo, but it's they want to get the ball in his hands because we know what he can do after the catch. And I feel keep him. Don't ship him somewhere else because again, a player like him is just going to emotionally check out, and then we get bad product out there.
Yeah, I just, we'll see whether he stays in Chicago, if he goes somewhere else. Either way, I'm going to just stand back and sort of watch as everybody else evaluates and drafts DJ Moore, and I'm just going to have to sit this one out in 2026. So that gets me to Passing Me By, the Far Side Classic about basically players who did not return our love, but we're not ready to give up on them, right? My dear, you do not know me, but I know you very well. Like these are the guys that we had expectations for. It didn't quite work out, but we're not ready to just give up on them just yet. So who's the player that you are still in on despite a bad 2025?
I gotta say, it's not all Scary Terry's fault, right?
No.
Like, the offseason was a mess. I mean, it was just weird. They had a weird, yoga standoff between him and the Commanders and, like, trying to figure out his health. Is he healthy? Is he not? I mean, again, he only played 3 games with Jayden Daniels, which is wild when you really go back and look at that. And it's like, this was just one of those seasons that he felt pain. I felt pain. We both were wrong. Let's just chalk it up. It's all good. You text me, hey, big head, I'm up. I will answer. Like, that's just how I feel about Terry McLaurin. And, like, next year, he may drop a couple rounds. I mean, look, Terry McLaurin in the 4th round still feels good to me because he's a wide receiver 1 for his team. But I'm looking more of him as a wide receiver 2. I would love to slap him as my 2, for the rest of his fantasy career.
I think that's kind of where he is now. I think we have seen that he has wide receiver 1 ceiling, but that is the absolute ceiling. And even then, it's sort of lower end wide receiver 1. But he's he's that guy that, if I decide I'm going to go wide receiver, and I come around the turn and I get him early to mid 2nd round, I feel great. I feel absolutely great about that. Not a problem at all. I think this also sort of goes back to the whole Jayden Daniels working under center conversation.
Yeah.
Like, if we're freaked out about it, then you're probably going to be a little lower on McLaurin. If you're like, not a big deal, then I think you're willing to maybe reach a little bit and take McLaurin, hoping he's healthy. That makes sense. I understand that. Mine, and this was not intended to be a shot at you. It's Ladd McConkey.
Oh boy.
What? Like, I still believe in Ladd McConkey. And again, this is right now not knowing what the wide receiver room in Los Angeles is going to look like. Although I do think Keenan Allen, who, by the way, was just swatting everything left and right at the celebrity all-star game in Inglewood at the NBA All-Star game this past weekend. I walked in the house, my wife was watching it, I sat down, and like in 5 minutes, I saw Keenan Allen just reject 2 different shots. Now, mind you, the people he was like celebrities that were like, they like probably 5'6", and like, so Keenan Allen was just like swatting them away. But
yeah. He has a second career, a second contract lined up. Right?
Just show up at celeb all-star basketball games and
just ball out.
Just ball out. I would be surprised if he comes back for another year. I think if you're the Chargers, you've got Ladd, you've got Trey Harris that you want to start working in. We started to see him more at the end of last season. You got Oronde Gadsden. You hopefully have a healthy Omarion Hampton. You've changed offensive coordinators with Mike McDaniel now coming in to take over the play calling there. I think Ladd goes back to being the top target in the Charger offense this year. I don't know that he's not going to get those 130 targets. He's not going to be that kind of guy, but I still think 95 to 100 targets is still in the offing for Ladd McConkey. I think if there's no Keenan Allen, it allows him to move back to the slot where he was very effective in his first year as well. You put Trey Harris out wide. You have Gadsden running those tight end routes. I think there's something there. And I think Mike McDaniel is a guy who can scheme this thing up and come up with something creative. So, I will admit that Ladd was not what I hoped he would be this year. I thought they spread the ball around quite a bit. Also, it didn't help that the Chargers basically had to hold a lottery to get 5 guys to play offensive line by the end of the season. If that is better, if those guys are healthy, right, you're going to get Joe Alt back. You're going to get Rashawn Slater back. That's going to go a long way, and that hopefully helps the passing game a little bit. So I think there's going to be a discount. I hope there's going to be a discount on Ladd McConkey, and I'm willing to take that discount because I think he's going to have a rebound year this year.
But here's the thing. I'm your boy. All right? This feels like when your homie goes back to the ex when it's like, bro, again? Why? Don't do it. You already seen it.
It wasn't his fault the last time around. Like he's going to get things are going to change this year. It's going to be better.
There it is. The word change. They always think they're going to change, but it ends up being the same thing. Look, I'm not out on Ladd, so I hear you of having interest with Mike McDaniel now, but you already went off and said he's not going to have 130 targets. He's not going to have that high target share he had his rookie year. So you're already showing like there's still some red flags, but we'll be good.
I mean, okay, so if it came, like, I mean, I guess I know the answer, right? But like Terry McLaurin versus Ladd McConkey, I think they can give you similar outcomes.
Yeah, I like that, actually. Yeah. I just feel like I'm going Terry over Ladd. If it's the 4th round, I'm going Terry over Ladd.
Probably, because I'm thinking, I mean, there's less target competition for Terry than there is for Ladd.
As of now, yeah.
As of now. You know, who knows where Deebo Samuel's going to be or what his role is going to be in the new offense. You know, Zach Ertz is, I think, done.
Yeah.
There's, you know, so there's not as much target competition for Terry McLaurin as there will be for Ladd McConkey. So maybe, but I still would be okay with Ladd as my wide receiver. I'm still okay with him as my wide receiver too. I am.
Wide receiver too. Okay, listen. Again, I'm not completely out on it. I just don't want to dive into that again. Like, I know the talent's there, but I'm not sure if we get wide receiver 1 product out of him, because I know everybody this summer are going to pull Ladd up. His ADP is going to be well beyond where Terry McLaurin's going to be. Me and you both know this, because if he comes out of the draft as a winner, they don't add anybody, and then it ends up with just being Trey Harris, Quentin Johnston, and Aronde Gaskin, then it's like, okay, well, Ladd is the obvious alpha there, but I'm just trying to think, like, Mike McDaniel's going to spread this offense out. You already know. You probably have an idea of who will be the blonde bandit this year. That's a little sneak peek right there of who I'll be crowning as the blonde hair trophy. But I just feel like Ladd, to me, is just going to disappoint again, because I think a lot of people are going to fluff him up again.
Obviously I'm going to keep an eye on ADP and see where he goes.
Yeah.
Because that's going to have a lot to do with it. Like, if I can get Ladd in the 3rd round, 4th round, I'm fine with that.
That seems proper.
You know, if people are starting to pull him up to the 2nd round, then I probably do have to pass on it for him. So, all right.
You feel good being back with your ex?
I do. It's going to work out this time. You know? Like,
now you're thinking in your head, like, I might have made a mistake.
No. I'm fine. I'm standing by it. Like, it worked out well year 1. Year 2, there were circumstances. That was all. Like, it wasn't Ladd's fault. There were just circumstances. So, you know, some of those circumstances are hopefully going away. So it'll be better.
They got help.
They got help.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So we are going through what I'm calling the love movement. We've talked about guys that we lost love for, guys that we're still holding on to, even if last year wasn't what we wanted it to be. And finally, the way you make me feel, the Michael Jackson Classic. Our crushes for 2026. The guys that we are looking forward to drafting when and where we can. Just, we want you out there to not drive the ADP up so much so that suddenly we're maybe overpaying for that sort of thing. So, LaQuan, who is the first guy you got a crush on for this upcoming season?
All right, first of all, pause. I have a crush on Cam Ward, and I do think a lot of people are just overlooking him in the situation he's in. Brian Daboll has a lot to do with this crush because, again, we've seen him find success with his quarterbacks in the first year, except for Josh Allen, believe it or not. But go back to Daniel Jones, his first year, QB9, 700 rushing yards. Not saying that's in the cards for a Cam Ward, but I'm just saying success as a pocket passer and being able to extend plays. I think there's a lot of tools that we can get out of Cam Ward to at least be fantasy relevant. You look at Jackson Dart last year. He showed us 20 fantasy points per game in the games that he was available. That's at least top 5 potential conversation right there. So I think Brian Daboll in the first year with Cam Ward, where we saw him have a strong back end of the season where he just was showing that he can improve and be able to escape the pocket. Because, again, this is only possible if he hits this ceiling, which I'm going to stamp on him as QB10, a top-end QB, with Brian Daboll next year could be in the cards. And this only comes down to if they beef up that O-line. Because him and Geno Smith, they were Sacktown finals. Like, it was just disgusting. Not enough time in the pocket for these plays to develop. And Alec Ironman leading the league with drop passes. Like, the drop rate got to change. So I think if they get, figure it out with Calvin Ridley as well, because he has a roster bonus trigger as well coming up next month. So who knows if he's on the move, if he stays. I say he stays. I mean, he's fast, he's quick, great hands. Just don't make him the one. Just make him more of a 2 in this situation, in this offense.
Yeah, I would like to see them add at least another pass catcher. Just, because you mentioned Calvin Ridley, who just it's never turned into what we wanted it to be with Calvin Ridley. I know I was an Alec Iomanner guy, but I also realized the limitations with that. Chimere Dike was interesting, but I think his future is more as a punt and kick returner than it is necessarily as a wide receiver. So I would like to see them add a guy who can be, I don't know if necessarily alpha, but something, to kind of give Cam
I
more
said Romeo Dobbs. Like, I've just been throwing his name out there. I mean, I think, honestly, you don't have to go out there and get the big, flashy trade of a A.J. Brown type or anything like that. I mean, just pay Romeo Dobbs some money and make him essentially your one and try to figure out what you're going to do with Ridley. Yeah,
I think that's interesting, too, which is a nice lead-in to my first crush for 2026. Oh. You talk about Romeo Dobbs, and I think the expectation is he's leaving Green Bay. So it's Christian Watson, who came back from injury and jumped right in like nothing had happened. Just immediately went to being truly the alpha, truly the wide receiver one there in Green Bay, the guy that we had been sort of looking for, right? We'd spent the last couple seasons trying to figure out who that guy was for the Packers. And we tried to make it Jayden Reed for a while. First, it was Christian Watson, and it didn't quite work out early. Yeah. I don't think we ever really believed it was Romeo Dobbs, but he did give some value on certain leagues. He believed, right? I think a lot of people tried to tell themselves a story where Matthew Golden could be that guy, and it took a while. It took pretty much still the postseason for Matthew Golden to kind of step up a little bit. So I'm not sold on that. But Christian Watson has that look of an alpha. And if the Packers decide they want to sort of take the leash off of Jordan Love a little more, because to watch Jordan Love play, statistically, there's nothing about it that, you look at and you're like, man, he put up numbers. But to watch him play and to watch the throws he makes, to watch him in the pocket and move that offense, you're like, yeah, I see the vision. So why not take the leash off of him a little bit, sort of lessen the reliance on Josh Jacobs in that run game. Let your quarterback do things and let him and Christian Watson just cook. And so I'm fully in on Christian Watson this year as the alpha there in Green Bay. And I know Tucker Kraft is going to be back, and he's certainly going to occupy a large space in that passing game and that target share. But man, what Watson can do after the catch, his ability to do a little bit of everything there, it's like he's supercharged what we saw from last season. And so I'm willing to be all in on Christian Watson this year.
I hear you on that. I'm in too. I just feel like, this crush, I'm here to warn you, they may be unavailable. I'm unemotionally available for you sometimes as well, I should say. I try to make the overlap of injuries and emotionally being available in a relationship.
I get it. I see where you're going.
I do think, like, if he ends up as the one there, essentially, like, is LaFleur going to let him be the acting wide receiver one, or is it still going to be part of the program of rotating these wide receivers? Because, again, if Dobbs leaves, I think undoubtedly Watson's your one. So I can buy into that if this actually pans out and paints out to be that picture.
I hope so. Because I think it could really be something good. I think if the Packers just, if LaFleur gives up that idea of we don't have a number one wide receiver, no, lean into it, man. You have a guy who can be that. Lean into it and just
paid
let
him
it
too.
cook. Yeah. Let it happen. Just let it happen.
While he was still on IR.
So I'm in on Christian Watson. You sort of hinted about the blonde bomber.
Yes, the blonde bomber we're calling
the blonde bomber.
It's coming.
You have been the young tight end whisperer. You've been the tight end whisperer because I guess Jonnu Smith wasn't necessarily young, but you've been the tight end whisperer the last couple of years. So are you hinting at what's coming for this offseason?
I would say my crush right now is a group of people. This is the Flavor of Love show. It'll be the Flavor of LaQuan show at this point. But I feel like I have many options next season with the next rookie tight end that I'm crushing on, because again, we've seen the last couple of years these guys hit the ground running. Like this past season, we had 3 tight ends average more than 10 fantasy points per game. That's fantasy relevance in that department of that position. That's great. You know what I mean? And then you look at the last 3 seasons, we had 5. And look at Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta. They hit the ground running. Like this is where I'm like, hey, the next batch of rookies that are coming out, I'm going to be doing some deep dives. I'm going to be looking at them more as like, where do they fit perfectly at? Because again, February 28th, 2025, I said Harold Fannin Jr. will be a top 5 tight end without even knowing the team he's at, just based off of pure skill. I am going to stamp that as a badge of like, hey, if I can find a guy, if I can look at some of these prospects that are coming up and like say, hey, this is the guy, that is going to be my crush for 2026.
I think it's interesting, and somebody who is smarter than me about these sort of things, I would love to see a deep dive into what it is about tight ends, where now we're seeing more and more guys be productive sooner. Because now we've seen it several years in a row where, we've seen the Laportas, we've seen Brock Bowers, we've seen, to an extent, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, we've seen those Harold Fannin, we've seen these guys come in and be impact players very quickly where, this, for years it was always, you can't count on rookie tight ends in fantasy. They just have too much of a learning curve. My immediate knee-jerk reaction is because the tight end position has become specialized where now you've got, as they say, the move tight end, the route running, pass catching tight end versus the inline blocker tight end, where once upon a time that was the same guy. So you had a whole lot more to learn. Now teams are starting to specialize. So you do one or the other. And if you are the pass catching type of tight end, it's like, hey man, just learn your route tree, learn the playbook, learn your route tree and go. And so we're not asking you to be as much a part of the running game or as much a part of pass protection as you might have been 10 years ago. So I think that's part of why you're seeing some of these guys be. It also helps that like Brock Bowers is just an incredibly talented dude.
Oh yeah. He's made in the lab. I mean, honestly, being down, in San Francisco, not down, but up in San Francisco in Media Row, I saw him in person. I'm like, yo, this is a dude. Like, God, this is a massive human. I see why you are the elites of the elites at the position. But yeah, man, I do hope that these next batch of rookie tight ends come out hitting the ground running, because there's a few, Elijah Stower from Vanderbilt. I've been looking at him, Joe Royer from Cincinnati. These are guys that are just kind of in the middle. They're not your number 1 or number 2 top tight end prospects, but neither was Harold Fannin Jr. So I'm starting to look beyond the first 2 or first 3 prospects that are in the fantasy streets in the echo chamber. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting because, again, that's a position that, while it's not deep, we've been able to find some gems across the board. So I think that's going to be one that's going to be worth kind of looking at. I guess we'll keep the tight end theme going. And it's Colston Loveland. And maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment, right? Maybe this is recency bias with the way the season finished for him. But last year, I said going into the NFL draft that Tyler Warren was the guy I liked until the moment Ben Johnson took Colston Loveland first. And not that I didn't. I drafted Tyler Warren still in a lot of places, but
gotcha.
Ben Johnson making that move was like, okay, so what does he know? And because I was all in on the Bears offense and Ben Johnson going over there, I was like, all right, great. And it took a while, in part because Loveland was not healthy to start the season. And it did take a little bit of a learning curve to get up to speed. But by the midpoint of the year, he started to figure some things out. And so now, some of this goes back to what happens to DJ Moore? Does he stay in Chicago? Does he move on somewhere else? What is the future for Luther Burden? I know there's already conversation about whether the Luther Burden hype train is rolling out of control right now.
It is February and it is rolling already. It is hot.
I'm okay. I mean, I am not ready to buy. Anyway, I don't mind Luther Burden, but I'm not ready to just fully commit to the.
I'm the guy that is in the back of the long line to buy the ticket, and if the line is too long, I'm usually like, screw this, I'm just go to another line. Yeah, there's another one coming. I'm just gonna wait for the next one, so I'm good. He may go on the L's list. He's not there yet, but this hype is crazy right now.
If I gotta call an Uber, I'll do that. It's fine. We'll figure it out. But Colston Loveland, I am in on, and I told you guys last week about the mock draft I was in, where I took him in the 3rd round, and the response was one of two things: either like, damn it, I wish I had reached and gotten him there, or hell no, there's no way I was going to take him in that. Actually, I took him in the 4th round. So 3rd pick of the 4th round. It was either like, I should have gotten him there, or there's zero chance I'm taking him there. There was no in between. There was no like, I guess it's okay. It was either like yes or hell no. So, so I'm on the yes side of things. I think, again, it's simplistic to make the 1-to-1 comparison with the Bears offense versus the old Lions offense. But I'm going to be simplistic right now and tell you that a Sam Laporta, like season, that first Sam Laporta year, I think it's possible for Colston Loveland in 2026. And so, McBride, Bowers, those are your first 2 guys off the board. I took Colston Loveland as tight end 3 in the 4th round. At this point, I do it again. I think everybody else comes with question marks, though, right? Everybody else has some question mark. Right? Harold Fanning, we love him. What's the offense going to be there in Cleveland? George Kittle, we know, is hurt. Is going to be out for an extended period of time. Is Travis Kelce coming back? And if so, what's he going to be in that offense? Like Sam Laporta, I think is going to move up the boards. But I think the last couple years, it means people aren't going to necessarily reach for him. There's a lot of questions at tight end. So I'm at least right now in mid-February willing to plant that flag with Colston Loveland as my tight end 3 in one of the earlier rounds.
Now that you iron it out, it does feel like it's a safe bet because there's still questions about Pitts. Is he franchise tag? Is Penix going to be good? And there's a lot of questions at tight end. So it just sounds disgusting saying it, but it just feels like, okay, it makes sense, That's aggressive, but hey, I mean, after McBride and Bowers, there is a ton of question marks after that.
I mean, I will, again, it's February, right? And we'll all do more mock drafts and things will start to settle. Like, when free agency hits and guys move around, that's going to shuffle some things around too. So I don't know, maybe it doesn't feel quite as great in April and May, but for now, like I feel okay with it. Right
what? Bonus segment. Toxic relationship. I have a toxic relationship with Javonte Sanders in Carolina, the tight end. And I feel like he's going to be unlocked this year. So it's a toxic relationship that I cannot let him go.
So you're into Jatavian Sanders, huh? You're in the...
Yeah.
All right.
I'm hoping he stays healthy. Or Theo Johnson. These are all toxic relationships of tight ends that just cannot stay healthy.
Theo Johnson, man, I don't know how many times I tried to shoehorn him into the sleepers column this past year.
I feel like he's the new Irv Smith. Remember Irv Smith?
Let Irv swerve. I was so ready. I had the hashtag ready to let Irv swerve. I was going to just carpet bomb the world with that, and Irv never swerved. It never happened.
It feels like Theo's on that path, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see if Brian Daboll can make it work in New York. There, right?
We'll see.
Not Brian Daboll.
Harbaugh.
Yeah, John Harbaugh. I'm flashing back to old Giants coaches of past. You know what I meant. Either way, there you go. That is the love movement for 2026 and beyond, guys. And how we feel about them heading into next year. You're going to be on the move. You're going to be on the road later this week, right?
Yes, I will be in New Orleans as of tomorrow and for the HBCU Legacy Bowl, and I'm going to try to get some content down there. There's some players that are really catching my eye after doing some research and hearing some of their stories. I like Gerard Washington. Les Need, are you listening? Gerard Washington corner, please look at him up from South Carolina State. I do think there's going to be a lot of players that are going to be showing up, that I'm really curious to meet in person and see them play.
Yeah, so there'll be definitely a lot of fun. I know you said you're going to be down there tomorrow. We'll check in. We'll get some updates from you about what you're seeing. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. So hopefully Florio, again, has wandered out of the wilderness and will be back with us on Thursday. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll figure out something to do for this show. But in the meantime, that'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well. Be good, safe, and everything, all that, wherever you are. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.